Hello everybody, this is Preston Howell with the first ever Teknion podcast.
That's right.
With me today I have Will Gray in Neon Orange. If you didn't notice him, he went hunting earlier today and he decided to just keep wearing the shirt. Yep. And then I got Jonathan Agee. Say hi.
Hey everyone.
Yep. Jonathan and Will are some of our principal consultants and practice leads. And I thought who better to kick this off with than some of the guys who know what's up. So,
Thanks,
with
Preston.
that, absolutely. We will jump right in. And I think, Jonathan, what are you thinking about this video podcast? Why are we doing it? What are we going to be covering?
Yeah, great question. So we've been really excited about video here at Teknion and really starting to launch into using video as a medium for communicating with really everyone. And so, we've been brainstorming how can we do that, and I've been watching a lot of different podcasts on YouTube and different places and thought this is a really great medium for communicating our story, what we care about, and how we can bring those messages to our viewers. And so in doing that, kind of think back to Teknion's why, what we're all about. And we really care about helping serve others through helping them find truth in their data. And so, and there's simple solutions that can help them get there. We think we have some of those that we can share with the market, share with our customers, share with just anyone who's interested really in finding truth in data. And so that's what we want to do through this podcast. We want to share our experiences, share the expertise that our team has. We've got a really great team here at Teknion, and really excited to present some of them, as well as our partners, and just the experiences that we have on a day-to-day basis building data solutions for folks. So that's kind of the why behind the podcast, and so really excited about it.
Yeah.
And excited to have you as the host, Preston.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah, it's good. It's my first claim to fame. So one of the other things that I've been thinking about with this is, the BI industry and data visualization as a whole is just growing a lot.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of new people entering into this community. And Jonathan, how long have you been using Tableau?
Oh gosh, been using it probably for about 9 years now. So
9 years.
Go back a while.
And so Jonathan's first conference, there were 400 people in attendance?
Probably about 200.
200.
Yeah, it was pretty
okay.
small.
So 200 people in attendance when you first went in Seattle. And this year there were about 15,000. So that's a lot of growth. That's a lot of new people, and that's something you can really bring to the table. And Will, how many years have you been using Alteryx?
I don't know the years, I can't count that, but I started with Tableau version 5.
What about Alteryx?
So, Alteryx was 5.5 years now.
Okay. And that was when Alteryx was a fairly new tool, and if you ever want to meet somebody at Alteryx, Will knows all of them, so just reach out to him.
I can't keep track. When I started, they had 100 people, and now I think they're at 500 or 600.
Jeez, so that's crazy. But you still know many, many of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is what we're doing. We want to talk about the BI industry, talk about the data industry, bring some of our insights, and allow you guys to get to know our team a little bit. I think that's really what we're trying to do, and that's why we're here.
Absolutely.
So really the meat and potatoes of our episode today is going to be Tableau Conference 2017, not 2016, 2017, hashtag Data17. So we just really want to recap and talk a little bit about our experience and about some of the new features that are coming up. So I think the first question that anybody at conference is asking, or I want to ask anybody at conference, is, aren't you glad we wore these shirts? Get it? So, Will, to start off talking about conference, tell me about your experience.
Yeah.
What'd you learn? What'd you do?
I think there's a lot of exciting things at conference. A lot of great features coming out. I always enjoy the keynotes. So, how is Tableau going to solve the problems that we've been experiencing as consultants, and what is the next evolution going to be? We see this industry continuing just to elevate and escalate, and new features being added across every modern BI tool. And so, how Tableau maintains the edge is what I always look forward to. And there's a lot of great features coming out, and the community builds, and Tableau has such a fantastic community, and this is for me almost like a reunion, being able to get back and see people that I only see once a year or have been talking to online. And so I always enjoy making those connections, and then of course getting to interact with our partners at their booths and being able to discuss. And then of course there's usually always a beta that comes down, and being able to go nerd out on the beta and experience the new features.
Yeah,
pretty fun.
And I wasn't able to go this year. I've been kind of on an every other year make it to Tableau conference with family commitments and such. But I got to watch the keynote from here at the office with the rest of our team that wasn't able to be there as well. And it was really great to see, Tableau kind of speaking to what are the new features. What is their vision for how this world of data and insight from data ultimately is going to grow and progress. And so I think their vision for helping to democratize that, helping make sure that it's not kind of a command and control style where only a select few get to have access to the data that they need to make decisions. Just really excited about where they continue to push that, and I think it's great. So.
Yeah.
And
motto.
we could see the orange shirts from
Yes,
the video,
everywhere.
so that was awesome. So thank you to our team.
So those orange shirts, just quick side note, my favorite comment that I received about the orange shirts over the course of conference was I was in a session, and a guy was sitting behind me, and he was like, "Your shirts are really bright." I was like, "Well, thank you." Like, that was kind of the idea. And he said, honestly, the first thing I thought is that Tableau has started like a prison ministry type thing. He was like, I was, that's cool. Like, they're teaching prisoners how to use Tableau so that they can like enter into this industry when they're gone. And then he just realized they were Teknion employees wearing neon orange shirts. So
I think we got called everything from prison inmates to traffic cones to
traffic cones, yeah,
data hunters. So I think there's a wide variety of
and ultimately,
occurred.
Yeah, and ultimately, I mean, as some of you may or may not know, we kind of started this thing with the orange shirts back at Inspire 17, and it was a really great way to just be able to show our commitment and show our presence at the event, and it turned into really such a success that we decided, we got to keep it going at TC17, and so I don't think we've committed to next year, but we're pretty excited about this as a trend for showing our presence and our commitment to the community. So I think hopefully it's just something that can be recognized and known, and we have a great team, so we want to showcase our team and put them out front and center.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed with them is as the day went on, people were much more welcoming of the bright colors. But in the morning, people were like, "Oh, why are you wearing that?" But it was good.
All right, so enough about our just experiences. So if you want to relive TC17, one of the great things that Tableau has done this year for people like me who weren't able to be there, and for everyone who was there, because you can't go to every session, right? So they've made it available where you can go in and watch pretty much all, I don't know if it's all, but it's a lot of sessions. So if you go to tclive.tableau.com, really phenomenal resource. Tableau conference, as Will said, is this gathering of people like-minded. But more than that, for so many of those people, it's a real true learning experience, and it can be that for anybody pretty much now because of making that content available. So thank you to Tableau, and thank you to all the presenters and the speakers who were there, who are sharing their wisdom and ideas with us.
And if you need a place to start, quick plug, I went to a session on the Big Book of Dashboards, which if you haven't gotten this book and you're in the Tableau community, I highly encourage you to. But they did a mini session on it, fantastic, just covered some basic dashboard design principles, so that'd be a great place to start. So, keeping on with the theme of Tableau Conference, there were a lot of new features announced, some really cool, exciting features, and we're going to just tell you guys a little bit about them. So, Will, starting off, what do you think about Hyper?
I'm really excited about Hyper. They did an interesting... Hyper. I can't do the German accent that the guy who introduced it did, but it's really exciting. I think it's going to be an absolute game changer when it comes to speeding up the processes and calculation times that take place and allowing
Yeah.
Tableau to experience big data in a way that it necessarily hasn't, because the Tableau data extract has always been one of the fastest ways to access your data, and this is going to only make that further. And I think, why we refer to it as hyper, we're just going to know it as a TDE, where we shouldn't see any change to it. And
So when are people going to be able to get their hands on it?
I believe it's rolled out in 10.4, right? Or
10.5
beta.
10.5 beta.
Yeah.
So
and Tableau Public's already powered on it on the back end.
Yeah.
So it's being.
So that's one of the
really
interesting
fast.
things. If you're new to Tableau, they really pioneer new features in Tableau Public, and then even more so in Tableau Online as well.
Yep.
Really rolling those out to people kind of under the covers, and so that's something that Tableau talked a lot about, and they kind of really pushed, is that with Hyper, you're not going to have to do anything different. You're just going to start using it. It's just going to be like you always were. You're just going to see it a lot faster.
You're going to have that workbook that took 5 minutes to open before, and now it's done in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I think one key thing with that, an area of misunderstanding I think some people do have, is that Hyper is going to fix query times. So if you have a really performance-intensive calculation or extracting data takes a long time, but if it's an actual rendering issue of you're trying to display a list of 100,000 marks, that still is going to have trouble, because that's not a data visualization best practice. And if you don't know that, read this book, it will tell you that.
Or contact Preston.
Or contact me.
He can help you out with it.
Yeah, I can do that. So that's Hyper. I think on the whole, Tableau community is the most amped about Hyper. That's going to be a game changer, especially in the enterprise space.
Yeah.
For sure. So, Jonathan, what are some other cool new features?
Yeah, so I think one that we as Teknion are really excited about is what's called the Extensions API. Mm-hmm. And so this was something that I think was kind of new and novel, that people hadn't really anticipated a lot coming out of conference. And so the idea behind the Extensions API is that you can really build out a true integration into a Tableau dashboard. So with your developers, you can have them build a native application that interfaces with whatever your backend tool is. So that might be a website or a in-house application or something like that. And that can then be embedded right into your dashboard and be completely aware of the data within your dashboard. So as you interact with, let's say, an orders dashboard where you're clicking through and you're looking at different orders for your customers, as soon as you click on an order, you could have an interface right there to move that order along, expedite it, actually interface into your ERP or something like that, and really make changes to that. So that's really cool in terms of the possibilities that opens up. Before, it had to be more of a wrapper around Tableau. Now this is really kind of coming into Tableau.
I think one of the key things you mentioned was the awareness that that Extensions API is going to have at the dashboard, because we built some pretty cool code before where you can embed the web page within a dashboard and you can enter in, but it really was never aware with anything else going in, or it had to be a wrapper that existed outside. I think with the Extensions API, it's endless with the possibilities that you're allowed to do. One of the first things that I always experience when going on site with the client is, well, how do I get Tableau to write back into a database?
Yeah.
Well, the Extension API is now going to allow us to be able to solve that for them.
Yeah, and then
very
not just
easily.
in a hack way, because there's been ways that people have been able to kind of hack that write back concept for years now, right? Where you with the JavaScript API, you capture the data point that you clicked on and whatever pieces of information about it, and then you do something with that. Well, now really it doesn't have to be implemented on a dashboard by dashboard basis. You write that extension and then you embed that, and you can really enable your whole analyst community within an organization to embed that extension into any dashboard that they're using. So you really just kind of open up the world of how.
Well, it's just going to be drag and drop, just like anything else you have in Tableau.
Yep. Yeah.
So, Preston, on the server side, what are some things that you think are going to be really helpful to some of our customers?
Yeah, so I think the most exciting thing there are a couple of really good ones. So from a developer standpoint, those who are using Tableau Desktop, the really exciting thing is there's now version compatibility. Hurrah! Yeah, astounding that something that simple can ease so much headache. But I don't know how many emails I've gotten from various clients, people I've taught in my classes who say, help, I created a dashboard and I can't publish it to Tableau server because my server's an older version. Well, they don't have that issue anymore. So that's fantastic.
In the future, they won't have that issue.
In the future, yes.
So do you know the details of when this is coming?
I think it's a 10.5 beta right now.
So in 10.5 beta will be the ability to save as a different version.
Okay.
In 10.4, so I believe already available, you can actually publish
to an older server. Okay.
But the key is, I think
10.
it goes back to anything within version 10, so I don't think it crosses the boundary.
I believe it's either 10.1 or 10.2.
And but this is nice because before we had to go in and hack the XML and put the right build number in.
And that might break it.
And
I mean, sometimes you corrupted that workbook and then you
lose the
workbook. You backed up. You hope you backed up the workbook before you tried that. But yeah. So what else?
So there's that. I think from a server administrator standpoint, what I was most excited to hear about is you no longer have to stop and start Tableau server to scale it up or down. So if you need to add a few nodes to your visualization process, you can do that, which is fantastic. And then additionally, from a organization standpoint, you have nested projects, which again, that's one of those features where it's like
you wish you'd had it for a long time.
I'm scratching my head on why we haven't had that earlier, but
and nested projects is going to be great. And one thing we do a lot of is trying to design whole governance systems around the modern BI tools, especially Tableau, and making that work with just two levels. A project and a workbook can oftentimes be, or project and views, or project and workbook and then views can be complicated in leveraging that and making sure that people have the right access to the right projects. And so I think one of the things that we're going to be just keep an eye out though is it can get nasty with the levels of inception that can happen with nested projects. But
I think before you were stretching it.
Oh,
before
absolutely.
you were always making a compromise one way or the other. Am I going to do it by organization structure? Am I going to do it by security model? Am I going to do it? So all of those things just created. Ultimately, I think more confusion. Because you'd have to have like the sales project with the sales test area and the sales sandbox area and things like that, right? And now you can put that all under sales. You can have the production area, the test, and the sandbox all within that. It just makes so much more sense.
Well, and I
think
mean,
people get it.
One of the struggles that so many people had, especially in the enterprise space, is like you just get a bajillion projects, and so then you start setting it up as different sites, and then you realize, oh shoot, I can't move things from site A to site B, and it's just a mess. And so we are very excited about that.
And just to take a step back to your server comment though, it takes Tableau server right now so long to start up and to stop that's going to save so much time and make server administration very much easier. The fact that I can manage my Tableau server for a lot of the features that I need to do
you don't have to send out an email.
I can add BizQuil. I can stand each up BizQuil server up without having to take down and roll it out live.
I think the other thing that's coming in 10.5 that's really exciting, so they actually have fully launched the beta for Linux, server on Linux, and so we've been part of testing server on Linux now for quite a while, looking at how to deploy that on AWS and things like that, kind of back more in the early beta alphas kind of time frame as a partner. And so to see that coming to 10.5 as it means it's really getting ready for launch. And so I think that's a huge thing that, when Tableau, I think it was in the keynote, they put up this slide that kind of showed, Tableau being available on any platform really that people want to deploy it on. So whether it's Azure or AWS, on Microsoft or Linux, whether it's Mac or Windows, right? I mean, this is something that I think is really hard to compete with in the space. They've really made a lot of investments there. And so to see Linux really coming out, I mean, that's going to save a lot of people a lot of money just in terms of Windows licensing for having to do that. And it's going to make a lot of server administrators happy to be able to roll that out on Linux. They like their typing the code out on the black screen, but
Yep.
it's not MySpace, but
Yep.
it's there.
It works. Yep. Yeah, and there's some other cool new features announced. I think one of the ones that I'm excited for is Vision Tooltip.
Yes.
I think people have been waiting for that for a long time.
They demoed it 2 years ago in Vegas.
I know,
and
right?
then nothing. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. I do think that in some instances it'll be overused. I think that if you are watching this and you are a Tableau developer, don't do a Vision Tooltip because you can. Make sure there's a purpose to it. It'll help.
I think the way they implement it though is very elegant and probably the best demos I've seen so far. And I know it's probably been 2 years work in progress, but it's going to be easy. It's going to make a lot of sense, and I think it's going to allow us to really take the communication of insight to a whole new level.
Yeah. Well, and this whole idea of Tableau is, visualizing things. They're a visual company.
Yep.
And one of the other new things they announced is actually Project Maestro, which takes a more visual approach to data preparation. Since Will is one of our Alteryx experts, thought I'd ask you, what do you think about Maestro? What is it? Are you excited about it? Tell me about it.
I think Maestro is going to open up the world of data prep to a whole new audience and get people thinking about data in a different way. And the first thing that everybody walks out, or at least that I heard, was, well, what does this mean for Alteryx? I think it definitely, while it does cover some of the data prep side, I think Alteryx takes it to a whole new level. And I think Maestro is going to allow the audience to very quickly take the data they need, prep it, introduce some really cool machine learning that allows you to profile the data and get it out in the Tableau. I think the way they demoed that was very elegant. It was very good. I think it's only in the Tableau. It's only going in the machine learning around the groupings and things like that we saw in the demo. I highly suggest you go watch the keynote if you haven't seen it. It's going to make it very easy, but it could introduce some complications as well. And so I'm very interested to see what this looks like in a production environment once it finally rolls out. But I think to say that I still think they're very much different tools and intended for different audiences.
Yeah. And as somebody who trains quite a bit, like I see a lot of people who are using Tableau and they just don't have the best understanding of data. And the benefit of Maestro is that for those people, it will help them along, is how I understand it.
It's really for the person who does a lot of the data prep currently in Excel and has VLOOKUPs and things like that that take place or macros. It's going to get them out of that process and into more of working with Tableau.
And I think one of the places where I'm really excited about Maestro is when you think about the investment that Tableau has made in all of their connectors. So they have native connectors with so many different data sources, right? I mean, a lot of times you're thinking,
all work with Maestro.
Yeah, they're all going to work with Maestro because from an architecture standpoint, they're building this consistently, right? And so when you think about being able to just really easily connect to Google Analytics and Salesforce or something like that, and not just create a single extract at one level of detail, but being able to do some data prep in between, connecting to those, blending them together, and then producing a data source that makes sense, right? And while at the same time bringing in others. We kind of saw this a little bit with cross-database joins, but just joining across databases is not really truly data prep, right? I mean, introducing intermediary aggregations and things like that, as well as the cleaning of the data that's going to allow it to you can only do so much with a join clause, right? With a custom join clause. So really being able to clean the data before so that they actually do line up so that they can then move through that pipeline. I think that's where it's really going to be a game changer for people. And so it'll be interesting to see, Tableau hasn't gotten into details of how much it costs or how you get it, how do existing customers get it, any of that kind of stuff. But, as a Tableau partner, we're really excited about what this is going to do for being able to help more people ultimately be able to leverage their data and find those nuggets of truth that are in it.
And for those who want to leverage Tableau to democratize the data, I think it's going to take that to a whole new level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things leading up to conference that I saw on Twitter was somebody had tweeted out and said, what percentage of your time is actually spent in Tableau? And, the vast majority of the responses, and these are people who are Tableau analysts, is somewhere between like 30% and 10% of their time is spent actually in Tableau. So I think Tableau's vision is that Maestro will increase that amount of time, decrease the amount of data prep time.
And that's the ultimate goal with self-service analytics, is to spend, if you think about it, you spend most of your time probably in the data prep stage, a little bit of time in actual analysis, and even less time in a storytelling phase. And we want to take that and think of visual analytics and switch it so we're very little time spent in data prep. That part's as automated as possible.
Yeah.
Spend more time analyzing and telling the story that's
And
behind
exploring
the data.
it.
Yeah.
It's because, everybody who uses Tableau knows that you get connected to the data and you have different insights because you see the data in a different way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're really excited about it. You guys should be too.
It's gonna be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that's our agenda for this first video podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Jonathan and Will, thank you for taking time out of your
Thank
busy
you.
schedules.
Thank you, Preston. Really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. Join us next time. I do not know what we will be covering, but it'll be a
good.
fantastic one, I'm sure.
Thank you, Preston.
Bye.
Thank you.